Alright, brush monkeys, welcome back. This week we are talking about miniature holders, different ways to hold your figures while you're painting them. And now I'm going to preface this by saying I've not been paid by any of these makers to endorse their products. And there are a ton of miniature holders on the market. These are just what I have used personally and my personal opinions on these, so take that with a grain of salt. Your mileage may vary, obviously. So we've got a number of ones to talk about. We've got forceps, we've got I used a cork with some blue tack on it, but you can also use a paint pot, a pill bottle, pretty much any little thing with blue tack on it. This is a 3D printed handle that I picked up for I think $6 or $7 in my game store, and it uses just soda bottle caps with poster tack on the top. Screw that on there, and then you can stick your figure to it. We're looking at the Citadel handle and the Citadel extra large handle, and finally the Redgrass Games handle with the RGG 360 handle and their caps and putties and the magnetic base. So that's what we're looking at. I'm going to go through each one and talk about the pros and cons and give you a rating out of 10 on each one of them. Alright, so let's get started. Up first is forceps. And these are just medical forceps, and you can buy these at they're used a lot by gun guys in cleaning and maintaining their weapons, or field surgical kits and that kind of thing for preppers. You can buy these things at gun shows for like $3 or $4 each. And the reason these are included in there is because this is actually what I started with. This is one of my first miniature holders. And it was back when Citadel came with, Citadel's miniatures had a little slot between their feet. And that would fit into a slot on the base. I don't know if I've got any slotted bases left. Oh, I do. Okay. So you get a base like this with this little slot here. That was for the tab that went in between the feet. Would fit into that. And in the meantime, before you put them in there, I would just open these up, clamp it onto that little slot between the feet, and you can see it's got this little ratchet enclosure here, just like that. And now you can just hold it like this and hold your miniature securely, keep your fingers off of it while you're painting and all that kind of thing. And this was really good for the early Citadel miniatures. A lot of figures nowadays don't come with that little slot on the base. Slotted bases are kind of being phased out in favor of, like, this looks like it used to be a slotted base, or has the option to be a slotted base if you cut it out. Or you've got scenic bases that are solid, but slotted bases are really kind of going away. So these aren't as useful as they used to be. But they were useful once upon a time. So I'm going to give them a 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10 for the forceps. All right. Alright, next up in terms of popularity is the cork with blue tack on the top of it. And again, this applies to paint pots with blue tack on them, or pill bottles, or anything, any little cylindrical object you stick poster tack to the top and use that for a handle. This works really nicely. I would use a little Space Marine figure here for an example. Okay, that's a bad example because he's got something on the bottom. But I got nothing else within reach. Give me a second. Yoink. Okay. Could have prepared for this segment better. Alright. Just basically press the figure down on that. and it holds it pretty securely and keeps your fingers off the figure while you're painting. That's really the important part, is that it keeps your fingers off the figure while you're painting. And allows you to turn it every which way and upside down and get all those little bits and pieces of it. And you can also remove the figure fairly easily, just peel it off. And if this gets nasty or doesn't stick anymore, you can just knead it and stick it back on there. It works really nicely. This has the advantage of being cheap, in that a pack of 3 of these corks, buy these big corks at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I think a pack of 6 of them I was getting in packs of 6 was about $3 or $4, so really cheap. And a pack of poster tack was, I think, maybe $5, and that lasted a good long time, depending on how big a wad of poster tack you put on there. And I used these for years before the Citadel handles came out, so I've got a lot of these still with the poster tack stuck on them. The other advantage to this is, if you've got a figure that's the feet are pinned and you don't want to stick it on there, you can just peel the poster tack off and just stick the pins directly into the cork. So it works with and without the poster tack, and it works equally effectively for both. So that's something to consider with these. So they are really nice. Nice cheap option, and you can get a bunch of them for fairly cheap. So I'll give these a 5 out of 10 for the corks. Alright, up next is a kind of related option, and this is a 3D printed part. It came like this for about, I think, $6 or $7 at my local hobby store. And then you just take a soda cap and stick some poster tack on there, and you can screw that down on top of there. That has the advantage of, you can use the same handle for multiple figures. If you wanted to stick that guy on there, now you're done painting him for a minute, you got to wait for his wash to dry or whatever. You can take that off, put it off to the side, put another cap on there, and continue on painting. The disadvantage to this one, I think, is that for its size, it's awfully small. It doesn't feel like it fits very well in my hand. You've got this little, I mean, you can kind of hold it like that, and then you can turn the top every which way to get it at the figure as you're painting it. But which is kind of like the Redgrass Games handle. I'll get into that one in a minute. And then, like I said, you've got the advantage of being able to take that off and swap it out for other ones, which again is like the Redgrass Games handle, which I'll get to. But it feels like, if you find a file like this on Thingiverse and you want to do yourself a favor, keep this part here the same size. Make this part maybe about 20 or 30%, maybe 50% bigger. Just bigger. Make it about twice as big. That big, because that will put it more in the realm of the Citadel handle, which we'll get to next here. So I'm going to give this one, I don't know, it's useful like the cork, but it's kind of small and feels a little bit weird holding it. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 for the 3D printed one. Right. Alright, so finally we come to the Citadel handle, and this is probably the most common ones you'll find on the market. Like I said, there's a lot of other different designs. These are the ones that most hobby stores will carry. These are the ones that are going to be easiest to find, and they're good for a pretty wide variety of sizes. I mean, you just pull those handles apart and you could fit everything up to maybe 40 millimeter in these upper ones. And these are really easy to use. You just push the figure down in there and it holds it. And again, you can turn it every which way, turn it upside down, paint every part of this figure. The problem I have with these is that this main handle doesn't hold very large figures. So that's what brings us to the extra large handle, which can, again, goes up to a pretty huge size. I mean, you can fit a lot of figures in that. You can almost fit an Imperial Knight in there. You can certainly fit one of those Primaris Dreadnoughts in there. They show the picture of it on the box. But, like, say you've got a big base like the big kitty here. Just snap it in there, and there you go. And now you can move it around however you want it, and it's still held fairly securely. I say fairly securely because these grippers, both of these, are meant to hold beveled bases, like the Citadel bases. You can see how there's a slight bevel to the side of the bases. That fits up under these little grips. You can see how it's kind of angled right there to hold the beveled edge. If your base doesn't have a beveled edge like this, it's not as secure, and this can just pop right out if you're not careful. The other disadvantage to these things is because it holds onto the beveled edge like that, there are certain places around the base you're not going to be able to paint that base band. So you end up having to, once you've got your figure all painted up, you end up having to take it out of there anyway just to get these little spaces along the bottom and paint them fully anyway, which kind of limits the effectiveness of this thing. Now the weird thing about these is you can take this head off, and that's just a standard, I want to say 1/8 screw that, like I could screw this into the bottom of my camera right now and hold the camera with it. So you can use a tripod with these things, like any standard camera tripod with these. And, if you want to base it, you just want to stand it up on there and put this thing on top of it like that and photograph it or paint it standing up like that. You can. It's actually pretty versatile that way. It's not intended to be that way, but that's kind of how it ended up, which is a little bit weird. But yeah, these things are about $8 at the local hobby store, and you can see they take paint really well. About covered them in paint. These bigger ones are closer to like 10 or $12 each. I don't have as many of these, but then again, I don't paint as many large figures. So I've got 4 of these. I've got 10 of these for doing squads, and they're nice. And you can get these in black and red. I think they come in a dark red color. For I want to say the same price. I don't have any of the red ones, but I didn't see any structural difference between them, so I don't imagine there'd be a whole lot of price difference between the two of them, except that red's pretty. So I would give the Citadel handle, I think they're a solid 6 out of 10. I mean, they've got their issues as far as being able to hold non-beveled edges and being able to get at the entire base band, but they're pretty good and readily available holding solution. So yeah, I'd give them about a 6 out of 10. All right, last but not least, for this video anyway, the Redgrass Games 360, and I ordered this off their Kickstarter when they started the 360. And what makes this a 360 is this little post here. They've got the original Redgrass Games head swiveled so that you could turn it and paint everything. But this one comes with originally comes with, I want to say, 2 heads. I remember getting an extra head or 2. I think maybe I ordered an extra. It came with 1, and I ordered an extra, 2 caps and the putty. So I've got 3 heads for it. And these are fantastic because, again, like the poster tack, you just stick the figure down on there. And this is really fairly strong putty. I mean, this is really nice stuff. And it holds a pretty wide variety of figures. Like, you can get a big figure like this and push it down onto this poster tack and it'll still hold it really securely. And this is fantastic because you can take this and push it down on there. It fits really nicely in the hand. It's really ergonomic. You can just wrap your fingers around that. Leave your index finger and thumb free to turn the top. So I think I did a review video of this thing when I first got it a while back, and as you can see, I've really put it through its paces. It's got paint and primer and matte sealant and gunk all over it. I should probably get another one of these, but man, I love this thing. This is my go-to handle. Again, I'm not being paid to endorse these things. I just use this product and I love it. It's fantastic. But you can sit here and paint and turn the figure every which way you need to paint it, and then like while you're waiting for a wash to dry, you can just kind of slide that up off of there, grab your next figure, stick them on there. It's fantastic for painting batches for that reason. You can paint whatever you need to on that guy, pop them off, grab the next guy, stick them on there, paint what you need to, pop them off, grab the next guy, and you're really only limited by the number of caps you have for this. This putty is fantastic. They actually sent a block of putty this big with just the handle and the one cap, and that cap was enough. I divided that up into 3, and that was enough to do all 3 of these caps. And so if that stuff gets worn out enough that I need to replace it, I've got enough putty to do all 3 caps again with it. And I've had this for about a year now and haven't needed to replace the putty yet. If the putty gets dirty, you could just kind of, peel the figure off. Putty gets dirty like it is now, I can just peel that out of there, re-knead it, and stick it back in. It's let me go ahead and peel this out. It's really strong stuff, so it's got a good tight grip to both the handle and the figures. Occasionally you'll get little threads where you go to peel it out and you get a little thing like that sticking to the base. That's okay, you can peel that off really easily. A lot of times you can just kind of take the putty and do that, and it comes right off. But that's what the cap looks like, and then you just re-knead the putty. And I've done this a lot, probably a dozen times already, and it's still just as sticky, it's still just as useful. Even with the paint on it, even with the paint kneaded into it, it's still really fantastic stuff. You just work it around and then stick it back in the handle like that, back in the cap, and then I just kind of work it into the edges, kind of push it in there like that. And then if you really want to be detail oriented about it and even it out really nicely, I like to just take it and kind of roll it around a little bit like that. It gives you a nice even surface. Stick that on there, stick your figure on there. And the best part about the 360 is it's got a magnet in the base, and it comes with this little metal disc that says Redgrass. Got the Redgrass Games logo on there, and you can see how powerful that is. It's lifting up the mat on my thing. So I had to get into the habit when I'm using this thing of kind of putting the handle down on the mat and then sliding it onto the magnet base when I'm done with it. And it's a pretty good strong magnet. I mean, you can't knock this thing over. It'll hold the figure up there really nice and securely. So that's a really nice addition to that handle. So I would give this one a solid 9 out of 10. And the only reason it's not getting 10 out of 10 is because it doesn't come in black. It only comes in this blue color. If they make one of these things in black, I'm buying a dozen of them and putting these little magnet things all over the place. The other great thing about this is when I go to put this thing away, and I'm just going to use my tool bench here as an example. I'm going to turn the camera here for a second. This is my tool drawer that I keep everything in, all right? When I'm not using this handle, or when I'm not using the paint station, I just stick it in there. It'll stick to literally any metal surface. Stick to the side of my workbench. It's a fantastic little magnet. And will prevent it from falling over or getting in the way or anything like that. So yeah, I will give this one a solid 9 out of 10. So. Alright, Brush Monkey, so there you have it. The wrap up of the paint handle review. The big winner is the Redgrass Games 360. I'm a big fan of Redgrass Games products. I use their wet palette all the time. It's really been a game changer for me. So I would highly recommend buying one of these things if you get a chance. In the meantime, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey Brush Monkeys, Tom from Flying Monkey Studios here. If you like what you see, click like down below. If you want to be notified when new videos come out, click subscribe. And in the meantime, if you want to see how to add one of the miniatures that we've painted on this channel to your own collection, check out our Instagram, Tumblr, and Patreon sites. If you want to support us in doing what we do, check out my Patreon site, check out my merch store at storefrontier.com/flymonkeystudios. You can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, all kinds of stuff there. Go check that out. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.